Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my most favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The New Mutants number 17 from 1984. This issue is a little bit of a milestone for a couple of things. Number one, this is the last issue that takes place while the X-Men are in Battle World. It will resolve this conflict with the Hellfire Club. This is sort of what Kitty Pryde and the New Mutants were doing during the week that the X-Men were in the Secret Wars. I have a playlist for the Secret Wars. I have 6 issues as of this recording. Check it out if you would like. And I've also have a couple of playlists. I have an X-Men playlist. I have an X-Universe playlist. And I have a New Mutants playlist. Feel free to check those out if you would like. The next thing is, this is the last issue before Bill Sienkiewicz comes in to take over New Mutants with issue 18, which will begin the Demon Bear saga. One of my favorite stories of all time. So this will be the last issue with this kind of refers to the old, like, New Mutants version 1, because version 2 then will kick off with Bill Sienkiewicz. And then version 3 will kick off once Louis Simonson takes over. So we have this cover here with which Bill Sienkiewicz actually inks. So June Brigman, I think, is the penciler here. So we got Jetstream and Cannonball here. So kind of a foreshadowing, I guess you could say, with Bill Sienkiewicz coming on. So you can definitely see the Bill Sienkiewiczisms in this cover here. So Stan Lee presents Getaway, the New Mutants versus the Hellions. And so I know this is Thunderbird. This is the original Thunderbird's brother. Roulette, Jetstream, I forget. Is it Feral? Anyway, this is Empath. And I forgot the girl's name. I'm sure that they will be describing. In this case, we got, like I said, sort of the old creative team of Chris Claremont, Sal Buscema, and Tom Mandrake. Chris Claremont will remain as writer. And like I mentioned, Bill Sienkiewicz will take over. Tom Orzechowski and Glynis Wein remain. And Nocenti thus becomes the editor. Louise Simonson, or Jones, is stepping down from editing, and she wants to be a writer. So she will be taking over. She'll be creating a new... called Power Pack. Eventually she will be doing the X Factor, and then she'll take over Chris Claremont's New Mutants from Chris Claremont when Claremont goes to do Excalibur. So alright, here we go. So Jetstream is kind of taking a swing at Empath. He says, "What are you playing at during our battle with the New Mutants? Your carelessness and stupidity very nearly got me killed." And Thunderbird says, "Cool down, Jetstream. Accidents happen in a fight." And Jetstream says, "You weren't there, Thunderbird. You didn't see. If not for Cannonball, one of our foes, I'd be dead now." And Empath says, "No great loss, Arab." And so you can see that I don't know why this color was chosen. It's sort of like a grayish, where it should be, so Thunderbird is Native American, but and I know that they're trying to get, for the technology at that time and the coloring, I know that they're trying to do something else, but it just, especially here, who he looks gray. So it's a little bit, I don't know, too gray, I guess. I would have gone with a tan, or maybe a more brownish, um, like, I don't know. I would have picked a different color, but it is what it is. So anyway, so um, Empath says, besides, what else was I to do since you had proven yourself so obviously incapable of coping with your opponent? And then he's hit here. And so he goes, liar. We're supposed to be a team, but that doesn't matter to you, does it? And all you care about is yourself. And Empath says, I have warned you before, dog. Never lay hands on a De La Rocha. And so he uses his powers here. And Empath is like, you don't wish to hurt me, Jetstream. I'm your friend. He's like, I apologize for striking me. He goes, I am sorry. Splendid. Now beg my forgiveness. And so the White Queen shows up and says, that's enough, Empath. You made your point. And so now I do not like this portion. This is too much black, and I know that but she's wearing white. If anything, use screen tones or something. This is much too black for a white costume. Like I said, she's supposed to be in shadows, but they really put too much black here, like I mentioned. I would have used a little gray tones. I probably would have done the inside black, the inside of the cape black, but I probably would have done everything else on screen tones. So the White Queen says, good morning, children. I see in your thoughts and from your actions that you're all quite recovered from last night activities. Take your seats for class, says the White Queen, and we'll review your performance. And so in a whisper here, because this denotes whispering, Al-Rahman, I could easily make you loathe yourself so deeply you would instantly commit suicide. Assault me again or even cross me, and you will regret it. And White Queen says, Empath, I said enough. And he thinks here, who are you, woman, to give me orders? And he thinks that, but out loud, he says, as you wish, senora. And she says, Manuel, it does no good to make enemies of those on whom your life may one day depend. And Empath says, rest assured, Majesty, that should the need arise, my teammates will do all I require of them. And of course, she thinks, arrogant pup. He must know I'm reading his thoughts, yet he isn't afraid, confident that his empathic powers shield his innermost secrets from my mind scans. He's challenging me to prove him wrong. His ambitions and powers make him dangerous. They also make him a perfect candidate for the Hellfire Club, provided he doesn't prompt me to kill him first. So Cat's Eye, I'm sorry, I said Feral. Feral is the one, I think, from X-Force. So, going somewhere, Cat's Eye? And she goes, sun's up, sleepy time, yes. No, join the others, Sharon, and assume human form. And so she does. So she's kind of like Wolfsbane, only cat. So the White Queen says, a few hours ago you faced what might be considered your opposite members, the New Mutants, novice students of Professor Charles Xavier. And Thunderbird asks, what are they doing here? And she says, that is none of your concern. And Thunderbird says, your pardon, ma'am, but I don't much like the idea of fighting kids. I want the X-Men. They owe me for my brother's life. And she says, rest assured, James, that debt will be paid, but you have much to learn before then. You all do. Manuel, you begin. And so Empath says, it was, and then he pauses. Wrong of me to lose my temper during our battle with Cannonball and Magma. Jetstream is correct. I did place him in jeopardy. And the White Queen says, Manuel is a proud boy. His admission, I'm sure, does not come easily. And she thinks, but it's out of character. What's he playing at? She says. And the White Queen continues, learn from this, Hellions. You are a team. Survival and victory depend on your ability to work together, to subordinate individual desires to the requirements of the group. And then she gasps here. And White Queen says, "You said something, Tarot?" "No, ma'am. Forgive my interruption." And then she looks and she thinks here. "I was thinking of the New Mutants when a card fell from my tarot deck. It's the Lovers," says something in French here. And so the White Queen thinks here. Blast! Tarot's thoughts are in turmoil. She lets those accursed cards direct her life. This may affect her loyalty to the Hellions. I could use my telepathic abilities to realign her perceptions, but I still know too little about her power. I may do more harm than good. Instead, I'll keep a much closer watch on her. So Chris Claremont really does love oh my goodness gracious, loves the exposition, loves to give as much information as possible. So now we are in a room where the New Mutants are being kept here. It says underneath the complex. And so we start with Magma here saying, "Oh, this is a heck of a prison cell," because, you know, it's not what prisons. And Kitty's like, "It's still a cage." Kitty's wearing one of the Hellions costumes. And Sam thinks they could smash the door or have Kitty face through the wall. And Kitty says the neutralizers or the inhibitors field, it neutralizes their power. And Wolfsbane asks Sunspot if he's okay, and he says no. Roulette, of course, in the last issue, did something to his back, and it still hurts, even though it's psychic. So Kitty says even if they get out, they still have problems. The Queen has, of course, the same powers as Professor X, and the psychic defenses that the professor taught them are no match for her. She would know their plans and thinks she could even be learning our plans now. And then Sunspot, his back hurts right that. And he says, "Sam, help me. The slightest move is agony. I can barely stand." And Kitty's like, "Then why try, dummy? You're not giving your body a chance to heal. I learned massage techniques in dance class, Sunspot. Lie on your stomach and I'll see what I can do." And so you can see Kitty massaging Sunspot's back. And again, Chris Claremont doing this, even like he's still in pain from last issue. Chris Claremont is an incredible writer. Just amazing. The fact that Chris Claremont still, during these days, can't get regular work is a travesty. So you see how the sales are in the dumps, and yet they don't want to, you know, they want to pay minimum. And so this is what we get now with comic books not being nearly as good. They just are not. And, you know, debate your mom if you want. Don't debate me. Modern comic books are, most of them, not as good. So Magma says, "Catherine, we saw a giant image of you with the White Queen. She said you had joined the Hellfire Club." And Kitty says, "That's a lie." And then she thinks, "I hope, if only I knew for certain." And she says she's been trying to brainwash me ever since I arrived at the academy with my friend Doug Ramsey. The same treatment's in store for you guys, I'm afraid. She's going to do her best to persuade or force us to switch sides. And Rain says, "But why? What are we to her that she should do such a terrible thing?" And Kitty continues with the massaging. And I like this, that they do this upshot so you can still see that she's still working on Sunspot here. And Kitty says, "Commodities of great value, Rain, like oil or gold or slaves, whatever possessed you to attack the Hellfire Club. I appreciate the thought. You're coming here to rescue me, but they're the X-Men's deadliest enemies." And Cannonball says, "If the X-Men had been around, we wouldn't have come. We may not be in your hotshot league, girl, but that don't make us stupid. Fact is, the X-Men disappeared the day you and Doug were captured." And he continues here, and the Avengers and Fantastic Four along with him. No one knows where they went, who took him, when or even if they'll be back. And she goes, oh no. And of course, that is in the Secret Wars. So, um, sorry, Sunspot. I looked at the color here and I was like, wait a minute. That looked like that Jetstream guy. So, don't despair. Danny and Eliana managed to escape capture. We're not beaten yet. There's still hope. And the White Queen creates an astral image of herself, and she says, how desperately you cling, Sunspot, to those most frail of reeds. If your compatriots are foolish enough to return, it will be to share your fate. In the meantime, why don't the rest of us get to know each other better? Catherine has already made a splendid start. And Kitty says, which? My mind's still my own. And she's like, if you say so, kitten. So now we're in limbo here, where we have Ileana here and Danny. So Mirage and I think it was Magic with a K. So and so these demons are coming for them, but Danny wakes up and hits them here. They're wearing the Hellfire's costume. Again, I have a playlist that was covered in the previous issue here. And so Danny's going to use her powers to try and scare him away. And of course, it creates an image of Sim. So they're scared of Sim, which, by the way, here he is. And he's like, good day, sweetheart. Is this a visit or do you plan to stay? He says. So Ileana is coming through as she goes, I'd hope never to see this place again. And Danny is in there and she goes, I'm even alive, albeit somewhat for the worse for wear. Sim brought us to this place and had the servants take care of us. I don't understand. I mean, I'm grateful for the help, but I thought he was your enemy. And Ileana says, things and loyalties have changed, right, Sim? You're the boss, cutie, he says. I should have realized sooner I can't teleport directly from place to place like Nightcrawler. Whatever I shift with my light circles has to travel via limbo. Sim, where are our clothes? And he says, you're the Magus, eh? You rule limbo. Your friend acted as your champion. Did a pretty fair job too. Sim decided it was only fitting you both looked the part. And so Danny says, you had me real worried for a while. I thought you'd never recover, but that I'd be trapped here forever. And Sim says, what's wrong with that, huh? Sim see it, especially that you'd be kept amused. And she's like, vanish, beast. You've outstayed your welcome. He's like, hey, as she uses one of the stepping discs on him. So, and so she's going to cast a healing spell on herself here to see if she can recover quicker. Danny's like, whoa, this chick is even more powerful than I thought. So she doesn't know if she's good or evil, but notices the flame are not burning her or hurting her. And so she healed herself, but she's extremely tired. She wishes she could go to sleep, but she'll manage. And so, so you can see them teleport themselves away. And Danny says, where are we going? And Lena says, back to the lion's den. All right, ready or not, here we come. So they're back at the Hellfire Club here. Ileana, this doesn't look like the Hellfire Complex. And she says, we're upstairs in the administration building. And so she continues here. My control over the disc isn't what it should be. And she goes, shush, I hear voices. By my ancestors, they're coming this way. Quick, inside. And you see cover her, and they whisper here, not a sound, just look and listen. I don't think they spotted us. We can't let them know we're here. And of course, here come the Hellions. So with the New Mutants, sorry. They've been all brainwashed. So we got Empath, Kitty, Thunderbird. We got, oh my God, Cannonball, Roulette. We got Magma. Again, I forgot her name here. We got Jetstream. We got Wolfsbane, Cat's Eye, and Sunspot. So not bad. I remembered everyone except this one right here. So Ileana says, Kitty and the Mutants wearing the same outfit as Miss Frost students, acting like they're best friends. And she says, Danny says, it was winter when you teleported us to Limbo in the middle of the night. And she says, so what? The sun and the green trees, it's summer. Look at the date. A year, it is impossible. Over a year has passed since the night we came to rescue Kitty. So that can't be right because the X-Men and everybody were not there. So let's see how this gets resolved here. So Danny says your disc moved through time and space. Danny continues. Over the months, the White Queen's made good on her threats. Our friends have deserted Professor Xavier and joined the Hellfire Club. And Ileana says, but why didn't the professor do anything? He wouldn't simply have abandoned them. And he says, who says he did? He could have tried and failed, or he may not even exist anymore. The X-Men disappeared, remember? Suppose they never returned. They could be dead. And so Ileana says, I wonder, you ever read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol? We're kind of like Scrooge, seeing the shape of things to come. I'm asking ourselves, is this what will be or what might be? If we go back, none of this will have happened yet. We might be able to prevent it. And Danny says, is that possible? And Ileana says, do we really have a choice? And here comes the White Queen. Fortunately for you girls, that decision has just been taken out of your hands. So, Danny, the Queen. And so, Emma Frost here says, I thought I heard some familiar psychic voices. Your former teammates will be so pleased to see you and welcome you to their ranks. They've missed you terribly, as have I. Be sensible, children. Resistance is useless. And flight, quite the opposite. And then she stops. Good Lord. That's cutting it close, Ileana. I figured. So, sorry. I figured she had us for sure. I didn't want to teleport us blind. We might have wound up anywhere, anywhen. It takes a little longer to set things up when I'm aiming for a specific destination. And Danny says next time to try to do it from Limbo because there's too much at stake than from showing up from there to there. And they look at the calendar and realize it's been a week. And so Danny says, we could be too late then. The damage may already be done. Do you want to try again? And she says, I put everything into this teleport. We're as close as I can get us, she says. We're so quiet and I'm nervous. I kept expecting the White Queen to pop up through the door any second, says Ileana. It's funky the way they're drawn here. I think this is her leg, but it got colored. So this part here, yeah, that's her leg. You can see it got colored the same. No wonder. I was like, this just looks funny. All right. And she says, do you know any spells that will shield our thoughts from her? And she says, no, the professor can't read my mind. I assume that applies to her as well. And then she says, what are we doing? And she says, phoning home. I was hoping the X-Men would be there. It's weird. The professor and I sometimes fought tooth and nail. I'd argue with him over the silliest things just to prove I was my own girl. And now he's gone. I miss him almost as much as my folks and my grandfather. And Ileana says, I know how you feel. My brother's with him. We can't help the X-Men, Danny, but we may be our teammates' only chance. So the X-Men will be coming up, as I mentioned, shortly after. So I wish we still had those Hellfire uniforms, says Danny. And Ileana says, if anyone asks, smile sweetly and tell them we're on our way to a costume party. And what if that doesn't work, asks Danny. Corridor's clear. Follow me, says Ileana. And so here comes Danny. It says, Rain, wake up. And she hugs her. Oh, you're alive. We're so happy. I was so afraid. I feared I'd never see you again. And so they said, let's go. And Sam wakes up and notices Danny's wearing different. And she says, I'll tell you later. And then the light comes up, and here come the Hellions. Surprise, says Thunderbird. But why are these three in uniform and everybody else is like wearing pajamas? And this one's wearing a negligee or lingerie, so whichever. Weird. And then he says, "You're all taking a big risk waltzing in here. The inhibitor field affects you as well as us," says Cannonball. So Danny understands now why she can't use her powers, or Ileana. And she says, "How'd you know we were here?" And Jetstream says, "Your use of the telephone triggered an alarm. We answered it. We joined the Hellions by choice. Some of us don't like the idea of being forced. Also, our initial meeting ended inconclusively. We want to see how good you truly are and how well we stand up against you. So, we propose a duel. One of you versus one of us in our combat room. Should you win, you all go free. Lose and you stay willingly no matter what." And Sunspot says, "Your precious queen sanctions this contest." And Empath says, "She knows nothing about it, half-breed. She's in Boston. Decide, mutants. The offer won't be repeated." So, Mirage Danny here says, "That Brave used a nerve pinch." The Brave. Oh my god. Meaning Thunderbird. "Nerve pinch on Ileana. She'll be unconscious. What'll I do? We'll be honor bound by our word. But will the Hellions, sorry. Why do I have to make the decisions? The others look to me as team leader. I guess this is where I prove myself." And she says, "We accept." So they have arrived in their danger room here. So we've got Cannonball and Jetstream. So it looks like those are the two that were decided. And they're also the two, Rain probably could have gone with versus Cat's Eye, but and so Jetstream says, "The rules are simple. We continue until one of us yields. We do not try to deliberate maim or kill the other. Beyond that, anything goes." Agreed. And Sunspot says, "Whenever you're ready." And so you can see Kitty and Danny trying to help Ileana here. So Jetstream, Cannonball, on your mark. I'm activating the room now. And so he makes the click, and here we go. So, all right, here we're just going to narrate. I'm not really going to read all the stuff here. So you can see here that Cannonball is down, and he's like, this fight's over before we begun. But then, of course, he's grabbed here. So it looks like Chris Claremont just repeated that everything the Hellions gets, the mutants get. So he just basically gave new names to the same characters here. So, all right. So you can see he's falling. He grabs. Off he goes. And so he was going to try and get him while he was, but he got out of the way. And look at Bobby. "Sam, you can do better than that." And Rain, of course, is like, "Be careful, Sam. I don't want to see you get hurt." So, all right. And here we go. Of course, Cannonball can't be hurt while he's in flight. So, happy landing, and throws him in there. And you can see, boom, he gets hit. But Cannonball says, "Oh my God, he's making me look like a fool." And he's making it easier for him. So is this gonna fall? He says, "Amara, look out." And Sunspot says, "Stop letting Jetstream control the match, Sam. You've got a brain. Use it. Use maneuver 7, the Magnum variation." And look at, "Be silent, dwarf." So he's like, "Hey, you never said we couldn't give advice." So here he goes. He is going to do that thing. He kicks him. He grabs him and holds on to him and boom, knocks him out. But he looks like he would get a concussion too. And so he's like, "Spare yourself some grief, Jetstream. Give up. Never." And he's like, "You proved your point. You've got skill and guts to spare, but you got nothing to be ashamed. The better man won. Let's call this quits before someone gets hurt." And he says, "Then you surrender. I will die before I yield." And Cannonball says, talk some sense into this jerk, will you, Thunderbird? You lost, even if your champion is too stubborn to admit. That means we can leave. It does? In question, who? And those, oh shoot, and here comes Sebastian Shaw and the White Queen. So, it appears, my dear Emma, we've arrived at an awkward moment. I'm Sebastian Shaw, young man, master of the inner circle. Would you care to explain yourself? We made a deal, a one-on-one duel for our freedom. I didn't think we'd get out, even if we won, but it was worth a try. Fascinating. Whose idea was this? And so, I would imagine, no, this has to be Thunderbird here. We all agreed to it, sir. We will share in the responsibility. And White Queen says, how noble, James, tell me, though. By what stretch of the imagination, by what right do you dare assert my authority? You may promise what you like, but at my school, my word is law. I was not party to your arrangement, and I do not consider myself bound to it. And here comes Cannonball. He says, the Nimians are going home. Run for it, guys. I'll cover you. Of course, he tries to hit Shaw, but Shaw absorbs, and then he uses that kinetic energy into his own, and you can see him hitting Cannonball there. I like that. Whammo. So, and here comes Sunspot here. Of course, Danny goes, you know, don't hit him. If you the harder you hit, the stronger he gets. But it doesn't look like Roberto cares. So, she's gonna try to use a psionic attack, but of course the White Queen is going to reverse it to her, and of course she gets the bear, and he hits Shaw, and Shaw of course is going to you know, he got strong, so he holds him. So Kitty decides, I'm gonna have to do it. So nobody's looking at her, so she's gonna phase through here. And she's going to short circuit, use her power to short circuit electronically, and everything goes crazy. And so, Cat's Eye and Wolfsbane rescue. Would this be Sunspot? Yep. And so, Cat's Eye's gonna stay, but they all put them all together so Lena can help them out here. She goes, she's happy here, so that's okay. And so the New Mutants have left, and they have arrived to the mansion here. So nice way to kind of resolve everything here. So, and so we're at the last page, as I mentioned, and so they're gonna go inside because it's really cold, and so. And they hope the X-Men do come back, which of course they do. And so as they're walking in, you know, Sam's worried that who's gonna teach us, or if, you know, that's gonna make us weak for the White Queen. But, you know, they said they'll figure it out. Suddenly here we got Moonstar, and suddenly we got the Demon Bear. None can save thee, little Cheyenne, nor God nor man. Make thy peace, bid farewell to thy friends, for I that claim thy mother and thy father will soon come for thee. So, next issue, Bill Sienkiewicz finally arrives. He will be here for a bit, so it'll be really cool. Death Hunt. His first issue is really cool. If you're a Bill Sienkiewicz fan, you're really gonna dig quite a few issues of the New Mutants. So, all right, New Mutants number 17. Chris Claremont, Sal Buscema, and Tom Mandrake. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.